so let's go through some surds. Let's make sure we know everything we need to know. And then we've got some notes as well. So we are talking simplifying surds. Right, we're just simplifying. So the basic level, first level stuff that we need to be able to do would be understanding that the square root of a square number gives you a whole number. Now I've not put plus and minus because, as I've said with surds, we're only going to worry about the positives. Now, that would be called a what surd?
A radical.
Positive.
A rational.
Rational. Okay, so we end up with a rational number there. So 6 is a rational number. If we took a different one, so what would we... Does anyone want to offer one that would simplify but give me a rational part and an irrational part?
20.
20, okay. So the square root of 20 is an irrational number, right? But we are never going to be able to make it not an irrational number, but we could give it a rational part and an irrational part. So how do we go about getting some rationality to it?
You look at its factors and you see it's 4 times 5 is 20. Now 4 is a square number, so you take it out and make it a 2.
Okay. So we don't forget that we can split the radical, which is what's in there, into two separate surds. And then we've got the square root of a square number, which gives us a rational part. And we've still got the irrational part.
Yeah, just as a question, I forgot.
I'll come back to you, yes.
Is the 36 the rational number? Or is it 6?
No, this is rational because if we simplify it, we end up with rational. Here, the root 5 is the irrational part because we can't do it any other way. The 2 would be our rational part. Yes, go.
Would you call that anything special?
It's just a surd. As long as you understand really the words rational and irrational and what they mean by that. Okay. What I would also say, just to add, is that what we have done here is express in the form blah 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 k to the power, no sorry not power, k root 5. Okay, so a lot of times in exam questions they'll say express it as the form k root 5. So that's kind of the basic level. Okay.
So
Yeah.
would it be, for example, express root 20 as k root 5? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And then it would be
So there's the clue in the question. So if I said express this number as k root 5, you know one of the factors is going to be 5. Right? So as soon as I say express it as k root 5, you know it's going to be something times 5, and the something is going to be a square number. Now there's one question I wanted to show you here, okay, which would be the next thing. What if I were to extend from that point and say express the following in the form k root 3? Okay. You haven't got the question yet. Have you got a question to ask, or?
That's the end in 3.
I haven't given you the numbers, so you can't give me an answer yet. So we've got root 48 plus root 108. Okay, so this kind of takes in the next part as well when we're adding surds together. So we want two things. We need to be able to combine them into one surd. We can't at the moment because the radical's different, so we can't add them. Okay.
None of them are rational.
Are they not?
Yeah.
Go on then, Jen, what are you going to say?
Would you do like make it k to the root of 3 like separately and then add them together?
Yeah, so what we're doing first is thinking, remember what I said, if that says root 3,
That's one of the factors.
that's going to be one of the factors. So 3 times,
Well, that was a lie. 15.
13.
stop lying,
6.
16. Yeah.
If I would guess.
16 times 3. That will then lead us to 4
Right.
root 3. Yeah.
Plus 26 times 3.
Okay, so we think this one's 26 times 3. Well, would that help us if it was 26
No,
times
it
3?
wouldn't.
Yeah, no, I can't see each other.
Well, that would be 78.
What about 9?
So it's not quite right, is it?
9 by 12, right?
But we want it as a root 3. So 3 times what makes 100,
Oh, am I
108.
wrong?
So you might want to use the 12, 9 to help you. So it's 3 times.
36.
Do you understand when I say you know it's 9 times 12? Do you know how to work out how that's 3 times something using 9 times 12?
Divide that by 3, multiply that by
Yeah, exactly. That's 3 times 3 times 12. So you just take that 3 and make it 3 times 36. Okay. So you can use that. So we've got 3 times 36. That's the square number. So we've got 6 root 3. And it ends up being
10.
what we were talking about yesterday, yeah? 10 root 3. It's like having x's and y's and things, we can put them together. Alright? So we've got that one. There was another one I wanted to go through with you.
And like my palm is so much bigger than my fingers. No. I have like my fingers are tiny baby fingers, but my palms are huge. And I'm pale. What are they gonna do?
Okay, so that's relatively simple at this point. Are you ready for me to move on? Have you written down what you need to write down? Okay, so got this question now where we've got 2 sets of brackets. 7 plus 2 root 50 times 5 minus 2 root 2. I have to express this in the form a plus b root 18. Yeah.
Okay, so first you're gonna do the little rainbow sign, so you might need to move up a little bit.
You do rainbows.
Okay.
Okay.
So
Fireworks, smiley face and eyebrows, whatever.
yeah,
it is,
so first you're gonna do a line from 7 to 5. Then vice versa.
This is foil, yeah, for anyone that uses foil.
Then you're gonna do 250 to 2. Then you're gonna do.
No, tell me the answer.
Right?
Tell me the answer then. What's 2 root 50 times minus 2 root 2?
From 0 of.
So maybe I write it over. So 2 root 50 times minus 2 root 2.
Root 100.
Don't do the
No,
minus.
but wait, we have to do the simple stuff and then get into answers.
No, you've told me to draw the line. We have to do the
We haven't
multiplication.
finished the lines yet, though.
But I don't. I've done 35. You told me that was 35. I'd like to do them as I do them, just so I don't miss anything.
Root 100.
Hang on. So lots of people chat. We need to be able to hear this clearly. So 2 root 50 times minus 2 root 2.
Root 100.
Okay, so this is like doing 2 times root 50 times minus 2 times root 2. So the 2 times minus 2 is?
2.
Minus 4. And root 50 times root 2 is? Root 100.
Okay.
So we've got minus 4.
Root 100. Then you'll do 7 to 2 root 2.
Which is?
negative 14 root 2.
Negative 14 root 2.
Then you're going to do 250 root 5, which is 10 root plus 10 root 50. And so you now collect like terms.
Okay.
So you know that 35, just leave it to the side.
Have we got any like terms at the moment?
Yes. We got, no we do not.
Yes, we do.
Oh yes we do.
Do we?
Not really, but we have root terms.
Oh, so we have surds. So none of them at the moment, they're the same. So what do we have to do?
We gotta do some more adding and subtracting. So
No, we don't. Not at the moment. Jen?
I have a question
Yeah.
about foiling. Say like we do the same, we like times the same by the same.
Yeah.
But like we do it in different orders. It doesn't matter what
No,
order you
it doesn't matter what.
Okay.
2 questions.
Ali?
How do you get the bottom line?
So basically, you've done FOIL before, yeah? With
No, like,
quadratics?
how do you do 2 to the 50 times 5?
my hair's good.
Oh, 2 root 50 times 5?
Yeah.
Well, if it's 2 lots of root 50, and then I have 5 lots of that, I just do the 2 times the 5. So over here, look, I've got 2 times root 50 times 5. So I just do the 2 and the times 5 to get the 10.
Okay.
I don't need to do anything to the 50 yet. Okay, but now, you're right, I can't simplify at the moment.
2 questions.
Yeah?
The first one was, oh yeah, bear with me. So, can I simplify those ones by being like, okay, I got negative 4 and 100, and I want to get to 50, so if I divide them both by 2,
Well, remember, you can only simplify a surd if you can take out a square number part.
oh, so okay.
So,
It would be
so I know, for instance, this is 35.
by 10.
So this one,
It's square number,
square number, but I would kind of like a 2 if possible.
but it's a square number.
What is? 100.
100.
So yes, so great. So we've
Negative
spotted that. So that's negative 4 times 10, so it's
Negative 40.
40. So we've already got that sorted.
Okay, another question.
Yeah?
What's the why bother with surds if we have fractions? You said fractions are our best friend. Isn't this like cheating on them?
What does the word... Go on, did you have an answer for that, Ella, or... another?
Can I go to the bathroom?
No, because we're in the middle of a very important point. Lots of learning happening. After we've done that, you can go. Anyone else have a comment on that? Because it's an interesting question, but Hayley said, is not, why don't we use fractions? Isn't surds cheating on fractions? If I've said use fractions, why are we using surds? Do you know?
No, I don't have an answer to your question, but I have a question.
Or can we finish one question before we
It
answer
goes
it?
along with it, kind of.
Have you got an answer to our question?
Because they're not the same thing.
Why are they not the same thing?
One's a rational.
Square root and fractions are like can be amount of something. And
Well, what's the definition of a fraction? Do you remember? No, sorry. What's the definition of a rational number? No.
that ends.
A number that
No.
It's an integer.
A rational number is any number, are we all paying attention? Because lots of people aren't. A rational number is a number that can be expressed as a fraction.
Oh.
Yeah? So therefore, an irrational number is a number that,
Can only be in decimals.
well, can't be expressed as a fraction. Yeah?
I'm kind of confused how you got the 2 times root 50 times 100.
Well, I'll come back to that then. Let me answer this. Are you all paying attention? Are you all paying attention to this important point? Alright? Hayley asked a very good question. Why am I not using fractions? Rational numbers are fractions. I said 7 is a rational number, yeah? Alright? Listen. 7 is a rational number. Can it be expressed as a fraction?
Yes.
Give me a fraction.
7/1.
7 over 1. Done. We've got lots of others that can be expressing 7. Now I said 2 root 50 has a rational part and an irrational part. 2 is the rational bit, because 2 can be expressed as
2 over 1.
2 over 1. Root 50 is the irrational part, because we cannot express it as a fraction. If you cannot express a number as a fraction, there are only 2 ways to express it. A decimal that goes on forever and
Does not recur.
does not recur. We've already done the whole if a number recurs, how to convert it to a fraction, haven't we? So the only way we can't do that is if it doesn't recur. Do you remember the multiplying, lining them up? If there's no pattern, you can't line them up. Like pi, right by your head, irrational. A root of a prime number will give you an irrational number. Therefore, why are we using surds? Because we can't use fractions. Surds cannot be expressed as fractions. We can simplify the surd as much as possible. So for instance, we might end up with a fraction in front of the surd. That's possible. But the surd bit, the root 2, is either root 2 or it's a decimal that I can't write because I'd have to round it. Okay? Yeah.
But isn't 150 a rational, a number that goes, no, a prime number?
50 isn't a prime number,
Yeah.
but it's a number that has the root of a prime number and we can't do anything about it. So if we simplify root 50, we end up with 5 root 2. Yeah? We've been doing. So we end up with that root 2.
Okay.
You can check on your calculators. If you do root 50, pardon? So a rational number is a number that can be expressed as a fraction.
But irrational.
Irrational is one that can't be expressed as a fraction, like pi. You had a question?
How do you get the 2 times?
So, are you okay with the FOIL stuff?
Yes.
So, how do I get
How
this?
you went from -4 to
How this became 40?
not how you got the green bit at the end.
Because, this is a different one. This is this one. You haven't, so that was 10 root 50. So 2 times 5 is 10. So this green is for simplifying, how did I get, so it was 2 root 50 times 5. So Ali asked, how did we get that?
Oh, so that's not the answer.
No, that's not the final answer. I'm just showing how I could get. This came from that. I'm just trying to explain how where 10 root 50 came from. I'm nowhere near the answer. You keep stopping me and asking questions. Okay?
I have a question though.
Okay.
Okay, if you could turn 4 into, 4
Root 100.
root 100.
Yeah.
You could turn it into 40, then why can't you turn 10
Because
root
what is
50
root-
into 5?
Because what's root 100?
Oh, never mind. 10.
The square root of 100 is 10. That's what Haley was saying. 100 is a square number.
And so it's 50.
No, it's not.
Oh, it's not? No, never mind.
The square root of 50 is, we don't know, do we? We can't know. The square numbers are up in front of you. What's the closest one nearest to 50?
49.
49. The next one is 64. 50 is not a square number. Yeah.
I don't get where you got the 40 from.
That's what we were just talking about. Minus this one simplifies to 40. Because, and what I'm doing down here, by the way, just in case anyone, this is my working out zone. So if I look at minus 4 root 100, well that is minus 4 times root 100. What is root 100?
10.
Oh,
So it's minus 4 times 10.
Oh, okay.
So it's 40. So,
Minus 40.
yeah. Okay. So what I've done, look, the 35 is still the 35. The minus 4 root 100 turns into, simplifies to minus 40. Right? so far, the minus 14 root 2 is still minus 14 root 2, and still there is the 10 root 50 is still 10 root 50.
Can you scroll up, please?
Okay.
A little more, please. A little more, please. This is getting a little embarrassing.
This is a different, we're on this
No,
question.
but I just need to see one thing before I make sure about
The
it.
colors do not go together.
Okay, I don't know where it was.
Well, that's today's.
No, I know, I don't know where it went.
Okay. So, we're still trying to collect the like terms together. Now, what Layla said was there's no, we can't collect anything together because the surds are different. So what we've got to do is try and change those. Let's try and simplify them until we get something. So we've got 35 minus 40, so we put those together and make minus 5. Okay. Now we've got root 2 and root 50, so I'm going to leave the minus 14 root 2 bit, but 10 root 50 is, no?
Is it 10 times 5 root 2?
So it's plus 10 times 5 root 2.
No, they're good.
I have no idea.
Would you like me to explain where that comes from again?
No, I get that.
Okay, because 10 times root 50 is the same as 10 times root 25 times 2, which is the same as 10 times 5 times root 2. So actually, even that can be simplified further to what?
50 root 2.
50 root 2. So far I've now got minus 5, minus 14 root 2, plus 50 root 2.
I don't know where this 18 is coming from.
Right, so don't worry about that yet. Are we all with me at this stage?
Can I write this down?
I tell, just work with me and then you can write it down, because people that are trying to write it down are not thinking with me, the ones that are writing are not asking any questions. You notice that?
Because I'm trying to go back and remember what
I know. Well, I'll put it down. Well, that's a better process to do. Okay? I'll go through it all again once we got through the beginning, and then you can write it. Alright? So I've got all of this. Can we collect like terms now?
Yes.
Okay, so now we have these like terms. So we've got minus 5, we've got minus 14 root 2 plus 50 root 2, and it becomes plus.
Plus.
I know.
36.
Woo!
Root 2.
Root 2.
And that equals 18.
Okay, so that would be an end point
But no.
if the question had asked for it in the form a plus b root 2.
Well, no, this is 18.
But it says 18. So this is because they want a final check to see whether there's another skill you have. Now, for instance then, the minus 5 is it. We're not going to do anything with that. However, what do we want in the bracket to make 18? Well, we've got 2 times, has to be 9. Yeah?
Yeah. Hey, that's
And
too.
it turns into a 3.
36.
Right.
I mean, no.
Now, careful. That has to be 9. Now the root 9 becomes what on the outside of the surd?
Why did I get a 9?
So it become 3. So that would be 3 root 2, and that would give me the 9 times 2 in the surd.
Where does the 9
30.
Because I need root 18. That would be root 18.
Why do we need that?
Because it said in the beginning, that's when I went back up like 30 seconds ago.
Yeah, I know, but
Okay? So I want root 18. So I've got root 2. I need to figure out, had to be 9 times 2. So the root 9 comes from the 3. Now, actually I have 36. Now that therefore has to be something times 3 makes the 36.
12.
12.
Wait, how did you get the 3?
Yeah.
From
It
the
just
root
came
9.
Root 9.
But where'd
Well,
you
I
get
tried
the
to
nine
say
on
the
the
nine
top?
box.
Why-
Because 9 times 2 is 18. I'm explaining the same things over and over again.
It's
It's coming
because
from the
you're going
people
upstairs.
whose heads down are writing. I keep saying.
No, they've
not
been
writing.
looking.
No, they haven't. She's smiling at me because she knows. She's writing.
I've been listening this whole question.
I know.
It's going upstairs instead of downstairs.
But you're explaining to me what it is
No,
I've got
I'm-
people asking. So
no.
you're in the good position.
I'm confused.
Okay, I can answer that question. I've got a question here first.
Okay, so I know that in the end it's supposed to be blah blah root 18. Yeah.
Yeah.
But why is the 3 root 2 above the root?
That's
9
what I was
times
saying.
2?
No, he just
I
wrote
know,
it
I know
there.
that's the end,
Oh, I get it.
final thing, but
Can we not
Just because it was a space to write in, that's all.
it's just.
Because I'm trying to say, right, do you want me to space it out a little bit
Just
more?
put it underneath. Just put it underneath.
No, because it's a process of getting there. So I know it's going to be -5. I know I need, at the end, plus something root 18. So I'm working backwards. I'm not working forwards. So I'm working backwards. So at this point, what I'm saying is, well, the root 18, I don't know what is going to be here. Right, that's a gap.
Can I go to the bathroom now?
Is it desperate? Because you're going to miss this and not be able to do it.
Can I watch on Firefly?
Okay, we'll see whether you do. Be quick, please. Right, so we need a root 18. That's why I wrote it down. I'm going backwards because the question asked for a root 18. What I did after all my simplification, I ended up with a root 2. So I've got to get from root 2 to root 18. So what I'm doing is I'm working backwards and I say, well, I've got a root 2, but 18 is done by doing what times 2? 9. So that, if that's going to be root 18, it has to be root 9 times 2. So that would have been root 9 times root 2. I've still got something else there, okay?
Oh, because we still need to get to the 36 root 2.
Because I still need this 36. So this bit here, okay, what I've got needs to make the 36, yeah? So what I now know is that root 9 is the same as 3. So therefore, what times 3 gives me the 36? 12.
But
So now, no, then we work back the way we want to work. So if this was 12 times 3, the 3 would become the root 9, which becomes the root 9 times 2, which becomes the 18. So the 12 is what we have in front.
Okay, that makes sense.
Okay? So I've kind of worked backwards and then I've done my check by working forwards.
One more time.
Say that again.
Can you do another example?
No. Just repeat the last 30 seconds first.
Okay. I'm going to do is I'm going to rub it all out.
Oh.
I'm going to rewrite it. Because sometimes it's hard to see when there's stuff already written.
Just a quick question.
Yeah.
So, does the root 9 turn into just a whole number 3 or root 3?
Root 9 is?
3. It's just 3, right?
Yeah.
Okay, actually, just before we do this whole thing, I just gotta ask one thing. Before, you said something about 5 times a root 3, and I don't remember if there's a number in front of it, but can I show you what I mean?
Right.